Alright, back again. I really couldn't see anything that was out of the ordinary. I did make a float adjustment. It always smells like it's running a bit fat, but it's possible because the way the accelerator pump's set up in these, it's kind of built in and you can't take it apart. At least they tell you not to take it apart. Yes, I actually pulled the instructions out of the trash and reread them, and that's kind of, and I didn't take it apart the first time, but I blew everything out and everything's still unplugged, but I noticed the float was pretty low. So why don't we try that? Not really out anything, but a little bit of time here. It doesn't take it long to do all this. Anyway, we'll give it a try and see if it'll start on its own, because that's still the, like I said before, that's still the main problem, is that it just will not start on its own without priming. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you leave it set for a short time, it fires back up without any trouble, but it doesn't want to do it once it sits overnight. So that is unacceptable. And there isn't much to these carburetors. It's not like I could, like how could I possibly mess this up? I was doing the same thing before, so I didn't make it any worse. I just didn't make it any better. I'll get stuff put back together here. We'll kind of give it a try. And the choke, I know, is not set just right. I have checked this tube, and it does work. So it doesn't have any trouble transferring heat. Matter of fact, you reach up there and burn your hand after it runs for a little bit. So I know the choke's getting hot and shutting itself off. It doesn't really set real well cold, but it does set some. Put it back on. Cut a piece of hose to length there. I usually buy it in bulk, not a whole roll or nothing. I can't afford to have that stuff sitting around, especially if it's not the right size all the time that you need. But I do try to buy it more than just like a foot or two at a time, or 6 inches or whatever. Especially if it seems to be a pretty common size, because I'm constantly having to replace. For whatever reason. Well, actually, if I can get this over this, I'm trying to get a clamp off here. I managed to take my screwdriver over the bench. Anyway, I'll show you what happens when you don't use the right hose for the right application too. Now, obviously, fuel line is made for fuel. Yes, you can use it for vacuum. Don't use vacuum for fuel. And if you're using any type of fuel injection system, don't use the normal. Let's see if I can see it in this thing or not. Oh, there it is, way up there. That was actually on the return side of that Malibu I put the 5.3 in. And that is, well, of course, it's made in the United States, 5/16, 3.4 bar, which you take that by, multiply that by atmospheric pressure. So it was designed to take a certain amount of fuel pressure, but this was on the return side, and it blew that stupid thing out right on the header. Luckily, I just started up, and I started backing down the driveway, and the pump started making a different sound. I thought, well, I wonder what that is, and I happened to look, and I was leaving a trail behind me. So I pulled back up and shut it off, got out there, and that thing had blown that fuel line, and I went ahead and replaced the entire fuel return line, and then so I got a Wheelbro 255 inline pump supplying fuel, which is way more than that that thing requires, but I thought I would overkill it just in case I ever decided to do anything else. Besides the fact, that's a pretty cheap pump. You can get on eBay, pretty reasonable. And it's a good unit. It's quiet. I've had a lot of people say don't use inline pumps because they're extremely noisy. And don't get me wrong, I can hear it. But the car itself, those things aren't notorious for being really nice and smooth and quiet. So, but I really can't hear it that much. When the fuel filter started plugging up, you can hear it. She really goes to whining. So, and that's definitely. Hang on, let me hook the fuel notes. I've got oh, this is a mess. I've had to put multiple springs on this thing over the years because it did not want to idle down. And there's not a lot of places to hook this stuff to. So anyway, try to hook it back up. Oh, there's a hole down here. There it is. In the exhaust manifold flange, there's a couple of. There's a hole that the spring hooks to. This linkage, like I said, I'm not a Ford guy. I know this is how it works, but it's a real difference backwards, and it's upside down to me, and everything is really close to the manifold, exhaust manifold. So if you reach down here and think, well, I'm just going to rev it up a few times here to check some stuff, if you don't have gloves on or it's been running any amount of time, it's so hot you can't touch that linkage. You know, I imagine that's why that spring give up early. You know, kind of give up. Well, I'm going to try to start this. It'll be the first time since I pulled it back apart again. Well, I am really kind of confused here of why this will not take up and start. It does not make sense. Nope, it's not squirting any fuel down there at all. If you do this though, that's just carburetor cleaner. I don't even have to get into it except put the gas down. Well, it didn't like that much, did it? Well, let's see if we'll start on its own. Not a vacuum leak here like I hoped. Somebody needs to explain this to me. Turn it off. I think somebody needs to explain this to me, because I don't get it. Well, I guess I'm going to have to think about this, or this didn't do this before it sat. So I checked this. You know, I pulled the jet back out, blew that line out, put the jet back in, blew that out from the jet, and it squirted out without any issues at all. The accelerator pump is kind of tight, but it does move in there, and I cleaned it out again, and it moves up and down. I've replaced both the diaphragms on both sides, and I assume that's the power valve. Fuel filter, fuel pump, and I know the gas is bad. I mean, it's old and bad, and I understand that. I did put, like I told you in some of the previous videos, I did put 5 gallons of good non-alcohol gas in it. I'm not, and there wasn't much in it that was left. And it's obvious it's squirting out through the filter, so the filter's not plugged. And the pump works. I mean, this is obvious. This thing catches every once in a while. It'll hang up. But I really don't even know what that does, to be honest with you. It doesn't really hook to anything. There's no pressure behind it. It actually hooks to the same line. It comes right up to the top of this that you'd fill your bowl up with. So I really don't know. So anyway, I'm a bit confused. Of course, that's not going to be the first and/or last time you're going to hear me say that. But in this particular case, this is really confusing, because these 6 cylinders are just not notorious for not running. I mean, this thing sat all that time. I give a little prime, and that thing fired right up and idled. I didn't have to mess with it at all after sitting for at least 6, 7, 8 years. I can't remember last time I really had it out. But I mean, and I didn't even drive it down. I just backed out of the garage so I could get access to the up to the attic. But well, I don't know, guys. I can't believe a Ford might kick my butt. Oh well.